With Tesla's incredibly ambitious timeline with the Model Y coming out nearly a year ahead of schedule, is it too far to say that with the Cybertruck we shouldn't expect the same thing? Don't get me wrong, I completely understand the traditional counter-argument. The Model Y is ahead of schedule because most of the parts for it were already being used in the Model 3. But in my opinion, this topic is worth discussing because the Model Y and Cybertruck were both unveiled in 2019, and I'm sure Tesla was well aware of the fact that the Model Y shared an incredibly amount of similar parts with the Model 3, so when they rolled it out on stage, they had, a working actual model. They knew what parts were going into this, and yet they still chose to announce that production would be starting in late 2020, and that's likely when we should expect first deliveries. So that's why I think there might be a little bit more to this. Sure, the Cybertruck is definitely not as simple or as easy to manufacture compared to the Model Y and the Model 3 because they already had assembly lines for those, they already had an infrastructure for them, they knew exactly what parts to get. I mean, honestly, the Model Y in several ways is just a hatchback version of the Model 3. So I'm not saying absolutely the Cybertruck is going to be ahead of schedule, and if it is, I doubt it would be as far ahead of schedule as the Model Y currently is. My point is, if Tesla is trying to combat that Elon time stigma, wouldn't it make sense that like the Model Y unveiling, where they gave themselves plenty of buffer room and said, you know what, production for this thing is going to start end of 2020, that's when you should expect it, but then at the end of the day turns out, oh wait, we're actually ready for it now, we can start first deliveries in March. I don't think it's that crazy to think they could be doing the same thing with the Cybertruck. Tell people it's coming at the end of 2021. That gives us a buffer zone. That gives a realistic timeline that we're more than likely to deliver on. But in actuality, we think we can deliver it a lot sooner because that helps combat that Elon time stigma that Tesla is notorious for and is probably experiencing right now with lots of things like the Tesla semi-truck, full self-driving capability. And I'm sure the Cybertruck is very different in manufacturing, especially with that exoskeleton of stainless steel. Completely different manufacturing methods than the Model Y or 3, but to me, the Cybertruck's bizarre design and its out of the ordinary look is because Tesla has had so much experience now with mass market vehicles like the Model 3 and now the Model Y. I think back when designing the Model S and X, there were definitely a lot more luxury features they were spending their time on, like those Model X Falcon doors, and they knew they had a certain budget to work with, and they knew they wouldn't have to deliver a substantial amount of them compared to the sales of the 3 and Y, and that's why they designed them the way they did. But once Tesla went through production hell with the Model 3, you bet that production process influenced the way they were going to design cars in the future. I'm sure a lot of the holdups with Model 3 production and potentially even Model Y production stem from Tesla saying, well, when we designed the car originally, we thought this part of manufacturing wasn't going to be that difficult. Now that we're actually mass producing, we knew that part should have been addressed, or that part should have been left out, or we should have spent more attention on X, Y, or Z. Doesn't matter. There's just a lot they've learned from now being a mass market vehicle company that's producing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of vehicles a year. That's why they designed the Cybertruck to look that way, is because they knew, okay, look, the pickup truck sells incredibly well in the United States. We got to be able to produce lots of these things, and if we want to get it at a reasonable price point, we have to do something different with the manufacturing process. So my point I'm trying to get across in this endless tangent is that the Cybertruck design, yes, very different. Manufacturing methods, yes, very different, but almost 50% of the reason they probably chose this design was because they knew manufacturing would be easier, would be more simple to install at the factories they currently have, and that's why I think there is a decent chance that they want to get on top of this. They know that there's tremendous demand for the Cybertruck. There's never been any pickup truck or potentially any car that has been this disruptive and it caused this much attention online, and they know they have a tremendous amount of demand, as Elon talked about on the Q4 earnings call, that they would not be able to meet demand of the Cybertruck for potentially up to 4 years. They got to get started on this thing. They know that this thing's going to be a cash cow once it actually becomes available, despite how many commenters like to imagine, no one likes the Cybertruck design, they think it's ugly, and anyone who actually likes the design is just an idiot and a Tesla fanboy. Yeah, you can keep telling yourself that all day, but Jay Leno wants to drive one, Kevin O'Leary wants one, Marquez wants one, John Morrison wants one, YouTubers want them, reservations went through the roof, and I just don't believe that people who find something ugly will put $100 down on it, okay? You also have to take into consideration there's a lot of people that saw it, possibly liked it, just like lots of other people did, but said because it's coming out way later, I don't need to reserve one right now, I don't need to be part of that first wave of deliveries, I'll just buy one when it's out or wait till other people buy it and see if there's some issues with it. Basically, there's a lot of people that probably like the design but aren't reserving one, just like me. I don't have a Cybertruck reservation, but I sure think it looks cool, and I would love to own one day, but there's no need for me to be in the first wave. I don't think I'm going to be in a financial financial place at that time to be buying a pickup truck. I don't really need a pickup truck for my daily workflow, so you have to account for that with reservations, that not all of them that they get in the first week, no, they're not all going to be sales, but a lot of the sales of the Cybertruck are not included in those initial reservations. The point Tesla made with those numbers is that there is demand for it. It is bizarre, but people are willing to put up with that if the specs hold true, and Tesla has a good track record with holding up to that. And I think due to this tremendous demand and due to everyone wanting one immediately, what Tesla did with the Model Y, which may have been accelerated production or maybe releasing it in March of 2020 was the plan all along, and they just wanted to give themselves a good 9 months to be safe. I totally think it's plausible that they could be doing that with the Cybertruck. So mass production, yes, is going to be designed very, very differently than the Model Y was and the Model 3 because it's such a drastically different vehicle, and you have this cold, hard steel exoskeleton, and there's so much more little details you have to work with. But I still believe that they probably gave themselves that same buffer they gave the Model Y, and therefore I'm gonna make a prediction, could be totally wrong, I don't care, they might end up being on time, but I'm gonna guess that it won't necessarily be 9 months ahead of schedule, but not too unreasonable to suggest 5 months ahead of schedule. So that's right, you can put me down on the record here. I think first Cybertruck deliveries are gonna take place in July or August of 2021, not the end of the year, kind of a little bit after Q2, in the midst of Q3, and then we'll be seeing the production model of it, whether or not it has rear view mirrors, what design changes do make it into the finalized design, when that solar option is going to be available. But to me, given Tesla is trying to be more ambitious with these rollouts, and they knew there would be tremendous demand for the Model Y, that's why they brought it ahead of schedule, and the Cybertruck is even more demand than that. So it makes total sense to me that probably at this point, while they're combating, battery production restraints, that's their biggest bottleneck right now, they're likely also saying, okay, we need to work on mass production lines as soon as we can for the Cybertruck because a ton of people want this thing. Of course, all speculation, no rumors or leaks or anything like that, just me making predictions and wanting to bounce the ideas off of you guys to see if any of you agree, if any of you disagree. Feel free to let me know down below. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.